ولن نساوم على الحق أو الثوابت.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamima, and these are today's top stories. Turkey threatens to strike Syrian Kurdish militia forces if they don't withdraw from the Syrian city of Manbij, the former bastion of ISIS extremists. Saudi Arabia's King Salman calls for a united fight against terrorism in a speech to Indonesia's parliament. And Prime Minister Saad Hariri and Spain's visiting Defense Minister Maria Dolores del Cospedal meet at the Gran Sarai and discuss military cooperation between Lebanon and Spain. Turkey threatens to strike Syrian Kurdish militia forces if they don't withdraw from Manbij, a former bastion of ISIS extremists taken over by predominantly Kurdish forces. The Kurdish People's Protection Units, known as the YPG, which Ankara considers a terrorist organization, is backed by Washington as the most effective fighting force on the ground in the battle against ISIS. Turkey launched a military campaign inside Syria in August, backing opposition rebels who captured a number of towns from ISIS, including Al-Bab near the Turkish border. Elsewhere in Syria, ISIL fighters have withdrawn from much of the oasis city of Palmyra as government forces slowly entered its ravaged ancient ruins because of landmines and suicide bombers. Russian-backed Syrian troops pushed into a western neighborhood of the city after fierce clashes with ISIL fighters. Saudi Arabia's King Salman has called for a united fight against terrorism in a speech to Indonesia's parliament during a landmark state visit to the world's most populous Muslim-majority country. The king is making the first visit by a Saudi monarch to Indonesia in almost 50 years, as part of a tour of Asia accompanied by a 1,000-strong delegation. Saudi Arabia has witnessed a series of deadly attacks claimed by ISIS since late 2014, mostly targeting the Shiite minority and security forces, killing dozens of people. Indonesia, which has long struggled with Islamic militancy, is also facing a renewed threat due to the appeal of ISIS, with hundreds of its citizens heading to the Middle East to fight with the extremists. Spain's visiting Defense Minister Maria Dolores del Cospedal discussed means of cooperation with Lebanon to preserve stability, voicing her country's commitment to assist Lebanese efforts to cope with the refugee crisis. After a meeting with Prime Minister Saad Hariri at the Gran Sarai, she said, quote, "We expressed our commitment to support Lebanon in its refugee crisis and help to them facilitate their return to Syria." The two discussed local and regional developments, and Hariri briefed the visiting minister on Lebanon's efforts to combat terrorism. The PM also thanked the minister for her country's contribution to UNIFIL, and the two tackled ways to improve military cooperation between both countries. Maronite Patriarch Shada Dahi has held talks with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Cairo. The meeting comes as part of Rai's visit to Egypt, where he attended a conference that gathered top Muslim and Christian clerics from the Middle East. The two-day conference on promoting coexistence, titled Freedom and Citizenship, was hosted by Al-Azhar, one of the leading Sunni Muslim authorities based in Cairo. Lebanon's Grand Mufti Sheikh Abdel Latif Daryan and Jafari Mufti Sheikh Ahmad Kabalan were among the participants. Coming up next, the Academy Awards organizers dump the accountants blamed for the Oscars' Best Picture blunder. Stay tuned. Welcome back. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is in Cairo on a two-day trip to Egypt and Tunisia in a push to limit migrant flows to Europe through North Africa, especially chaos-torn Libya. Merkel, who faces elections in September, has been under intense pressure to reduce the number of asylum seekers coming to Germany, which has taken in over 1 million migrants since 2015. Her government has urged the North African states to step up border controls and speed up repatriations of migrants whose asylum applications are rejected. The European Parliament stripped far-right French lawmaker and presidential candidate Marine Le Pen of parliamentary immunity for posting graphic images of victims of the ISIL group. The lifting of immunity allows a Paris court to prosecute her for posting 3 images of brutality by ISIL on Twitter in 2015, including a photo of the decapitated corpse of U.S. journalist James Foley. The offense being considered is publishing violent images, which under certain circumstances can carry a penalty of 3 years in prison and a fine of $78,930 US. Jeff Sessions, while still a U.S. senator, spoke twice last year with Russia's ambassador. Encounters he did not disclose when asked during his confirmation hearing to become Attorney General about possible contacts between Donald Trump's campaign and Russian officials. This is according to a Washington Post report which cited Justice Department officials. One of the meetings was reportedly a private conversation between Sessions and Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, which took place in September in the senator's office at the height of what U.S. intelligence officials say was a Russian cyber campaign to upend the U.S. presidential race. Sessions, however, issued a statement denying ever meeting with any Russian officials to discuss issues of the campaign. French artist Abraham Poincheval emerges dazed but happy from living inside a giant rock for 7 days. The now world-famous artist spent the last week in a body-shaped slot carved out from a limestone rock in Paris's Palais de Tokyo Contemporary Art Museum. He ate stewed fruit and purees in a stone equipped with an air vent and personal items like a logbook. Have a look.
Emerging from a rock after spending 7 days trapped within it, of his own volition. Frenchman Abraham Poincheval stepping out of the body-shaped slot to greet the crowds. Carved out of limestone with an air vent for breathing. The artist sat inside and ate stewed fruit and purees. It was equipped with personal items like a logbook to write in. Once back in the real world, Poincheval claimed the experience led him on a journey of self-discovery as he battled through moments of vertigo and dreamlike hallucinatory states. The artist spent 13 days living inside a hollowed-out bear sculpture back in 2014, eating worms and beetles to mirror a bear's diet. His next feat, at the end of March, will be to mimic a hen by incubating eggs until they hatch.
Owls are the latest cafe attraction in Japan, where the animals are considered lucky. But some activists are trying to get these cafes closed down, saying the living conditions can cross the line into abuse. Eve Johnson reports.
Up close and personal with a fierce predator in Japan. The Owl Village, just one of many cafes like it, popping up around the country. But animal activists say that behind the warm and fuzzy photo ops is a darker story of abuse. They're calling for the cafes to be shut down.
When people think about animal abuse, they think about kicking or hitting, but it isn't limited to that. Confining an animal to a small space is certainly a form of abuse.
And it's not just a matter of space. The owls are often tied up and kept awake in bright and noisy conditions during the day when they're supposed to sleep. But some cafes insist they take good care of their star attractions.
Some owl cafes are short-staffed and customers are allowed to freely interact with the birds. But here they have to be accompanied by a staff member who explains how to touch the animals.
Owls are a symbol of luck in Japan, which seems to be rather unlucky for some of the birds themselves. Activists say some cafes have put business first, leading to tragedy. One report saying that within a year, 7 had died at one cafe alone.
The organizers of the Academy Awards said the 2 PricewaterhouseCoopers accountants behind the mix-up that saw La La Land incorrectly named Best Picture before Moonlight was declared the real winner will no longer be involved in the Oscars ceremony. The spokesperson for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences saw PwC accountants Brian Cullinan and Martha Ruiz will no longer tabulate Oscar votes and hand out envelopes containing winners' names at Hollywood's most prestigious awards ceremony. More details in this report.
The 2 accountants blamed for one of the biggest and most embarrassing moments in Oscar history have been officially declared unfit for duty. Brian Cullinan and Martha Ruiz, partners at accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers, are now barred from helping out with Oscar votes and from handing out envelopes containing the winning names. A mix-up of those all-important cars caused a massive blunder on Sunday night, as La La Land was incorrectly named Best Picture. The cast and producers were halfway through their acceptance speeches before the mistake emerged and Moonlight crowned instead. For 83 years, PwC has overseen balloting for the Academy Awards, Hollywood's highest honours. The firm took full responsibility for the blunder, widely blamed on backstage distractions. Cullinan was found to have posted a photo of actress Emma Stone on Twitter just minutes before the mistake. That tweet now deleted.
Fashion from the Oscars red carpet gets shrunk as children pose in replica gowns like those worn by Viola Davis, Halle Berry and Jessica Biel. Bob Mazan reports.
It's high fashion on a small scale, as the Oscar gowns worn by some of Hollywood's biggest names got reimagined kid-sized. The brainchild of photographer Trisha Mesereau, the photo shoot, called Toddlewood, created near spot-on recreations.
The biggest challenge in pulling all this together is that we put the time constraints on ourselves. I mean, we could take a week to do this, but we choose to do it within 48 hours.
In addition to Viola Davis's Armani Privé dress, mastered looks included Janelle Monáe's Elie Saab gown and Jessica Biel's gold outfit by Kaufman Franco, modeled by 8-year-old Francesca Biasillo.
I think I looked like her when she was very little because, well, I kind of looked like her little sister.
Halle Berry's Atelier Versace gown was given the Toddlewood treatment, as was Karlie Kloss's Stella McCartney number with a shrunken version worn by 6-year-old Lily Fisher.
I've seen a picture and I think she looks a lot like me.
Mesereau and her team give themselves only 48 hours to mimic the red carpet looks, a feat that is never an easy challenge.
We continue to do this, one, because we just really enjoy the creativity. We love the pressure. We look forward to it. Every year I keep saying, you know what, that's our last one. I'm tired. But then when the time comes, we're like, no, we have to do it again.
Yes, pose. Yes, pose. Let me see, blow kiss. 1, 2, 3, blow kiss. Beautiful.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Turkey threatens to strike Syrian Kurdish militia forces if they don't withdraw from the Syrian city of Manbij, a former bastion of ISIS extremists. Saudi Arabia's King Salman calls for a united fight against terrorism in a speech to Indonesia's parliament. And Prime Minister Saad Hariri and Spain's visiting Defense Minister Maria Dolores del Cospedal meet at the Gran Sarai and discuss military cooperation between both countries. Those are your top stories for this Thursday. I'm Linda Tamimna. Thank you all for watching.